Like I always wonder what's newer comics. Like obviously I didn't know what setup punchline was when I started stand-up comedy.
Right.
But me and Andrew Evans were talking about this the other day. When I started writing comedy, when I decided I wanted to try it, I started writing comedy. I instinctively knew what that was, even though without being told, because I watched a lot of comedy. I mean,
you consumed a lot of
when
it.
I'm talking, people don't understand. Like and I think I've said this here on this podcast, like the reason why I fucking love comedy so much and why it means so much to me is because my entire life I was wondering what was that thing that meant so much to me. And when I finally fucking found it, it fit like a glove. Like it just clicked and everything started making sense. Yeah. Things started like lining up in my brain that I never even thought of. And I started thinking back to the first stand-up comedy I ever listened to. I did a radio show in university where I played stand-up comedy albums.
Right.
And when I did that, I didn't play them because I wanted to be a stand-up. I just liked stand-up.
You just loved it.
So it was, once I started doing it, I went, that's why you did it. That's why you watched this bit over and over again. That's why you watch a special over and over again. That's why you had that radio show. That's why you did all these things, because you fucking love it.
Yeah.
That's why it did. And I just want to see that passion in other people.
Right. And the effort.
And when you tell me that, and sometimes I miss it. And sometimes I have to, honestly, fucking when you had Adrian Gabriel on, I learned so much about that woman. Yeah. That made me go there is shit there that I didn't see.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And she was talking about her early comedy stuff that she liked. And I was like, oh my God, that's kind of similar. Right. She brought up Eddie Murphy. I mean, I talked extensively about how Eddie Murphy and Andrew Dice Clay were the two comics that made me fall in love with comedy.
Right.
They're not my two favorite comics of all time.
Right.
But they're the two that made me fall in love with comedy.
Right.
And I just want to see that in other people. I just want to see that passion, that fucking desire, that knowledge of the history, that watching. And it's not, well, it makes me feel good, so I go and do it.
Yeah.
I
know. Yeah, and then there's the people.
Volunteer at an old folks home. I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah. Be an Instagram influencer.
Yeah.
Do that.
Yeah.
But would you say, because it's interesting how some people, it's interesting the different trajectories that comics can take, because sometimes people are like, I just thought I'd try it, and then I totally fell in love with it, and
that's fine too.
And then there's
another problem with
another
someone who fucking is like, you know what? I'll honestly admit I don't have a huge history of love with it, but then I started doing it, and then I went back in time and I watched this and I watched this and I did this and did that. I'm like,
it still happened. It didn't happen in the same way.
It happened in a different way. Not all of us live the same life.
I just don't think it's, if you're someone who wants to do it consistently, wants to get better at it, wants to eventually start getting paid for it, how could you not do your research? I hate to say research, that's probably not the right term.
Yeah.
But learn more about it. Mm-hmm. Watch more specials. Mm-hmm. Open yourself up to other types of comedy.
Yeah.
Because the more you do that, the more it's going to craft that skill, and you will get better. Yeah. Hopefully,
that's just how I feel, right?
And like you said, the actual passion for comedy, not the passion for attention.
I guess my problem is I relate comedy way too much back to wrestling.
Yeah,
I've been a wrestling fan my entire life, and I've read a lot of stuff about wrestling, and I've listened to interviews with wrestlers. And one thing a wrestler hates is a guy that walks into the locker room and they know that guy just wants the fame.
Right.
They don't want to put in the hard work. They don't want to pay the dues.
And you know what that reminds me of? I'm going to call it out. I don't care. We're at the end of this long episode. If you're listening to this,
you earned it.
You earned it.
I'm not going to co-sign
If you're a fucking person who has done a couple mics and you put comedian on your Instagram or your Tinder,
you're a piece of shit.
I don't.
Stolen valor, you're a piece of shit.
Don't do that.
No.
That is
First
ridiculous.
off, I'll add to this. If you aren't a touring headliner, delete your fucking comedy account. I don't give a fuck about your comedy account. I'm not going to follow it. I'm not going to like it unless you're a fucking touring headliner. There's no fucking reason why you should have a fucking Facebook page or a separate Instagram account. It's bullshit. Mm-hmm. You're an open fucking micer. Shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
Okay, I got too mean there. I didn't mean
This is like truth bombs.
That's what it is.
Here.
Like, but that's humility. You gotta have humility. You gotta be humble.
Oh, the humility
gotta be humble,
is yeah, and I mean that's yeah.
And again, you know what? That whole rant I just did about. Don't listen to me. Keep your page.
No, I wouldn't say that.
Me.
No,
who gives a shit?
That's your opinion.
It's my opinion. It does.
Here's the thing. I've said this, like, you've been around the scene a long time. You've been doing comedy a long time. You got to give yourself a little more credit. You know some things.
But I just
feel
like
some
I
things.
come off as just a crotchety fucking angry man.
Own that you know it.
Yeah.
Own that you own it. Own that you know it. That's a hard.
And don't get me wrong. These are not things that I came up with. These are lessons I learned by watching, by being around, by being directly told. These are things I've learned. And I say don't have a this or don't do this or do this and don't do that. I ain't just pulling it out thin air. These are things I've learned and I'm trying to pass on.
And people would agree with you.
Yeah.
Other comics at your level would agree with you.
Hopefully. Yeah.
I think so. Oh. Like, but this is the divide, right? There's a clear divide between when you're new versus when, and to those new people, they're the new freshmen in high school who are scared to talk to the senior. Mm-hmm. They are like from their perspective, they're terrified.
Yeah. But I try to do my best to be as open as possible. Like, you want to have a conversation with me about,
right,
where you're at. I want to be as open as possible. But you have to understand, in that openness, there's going to be some
things that you don't want to hear. Yeah, absolutely. That's what you would get if you were to have an employee review. Like, mm-hmm. When you work somewhere and you have a review. It's the same thing.
Do you want to be spoon-fed something, or do you want a harsh, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
The only way you get better is harsh reality. Spoon-feeding something, sugar-coating something, it's not a way to get better.
Not a way to do it.
It's just not how you get better. And trust me, if anyone hears me say this shit and they're like, "Oh, why is it gonna say this shit?" I've had moments where it's been painful lessons to me. I've had those too.
Yeah.
But I've understood that I needed that lesson. It just hurt.
Yeah.
But what's Buckley's? Tastes awful, but it works.
But it works. That episode that I listened to today with the psychologist on Dak Shepard, they loved him so much and they were very complimentary to him. And he was like, okay, so we're going to end the episode. You need to tell me one piece of critical feedback that's not positive. And they're like, we can't think of anything. We'll have to put it in later. And
is that just shield because they don't want to?
Well, that was it. And he was like, that's not fair. You need to give me that. It's not... Like, you need to give me that one piece.
Your wife has a better career. I love the two of them. Why am I shitting on them?
No, it was the guest. So the guest was the one asking for feedback.
Oh, it was the guest.
Yes, the psychologist was
okay.
Because they were very much so like, thank you so much for coming on.
That would make more sense from a psychologist thing. Okay, that totally makes more sense. Yeah.
And then they had to think of something that was a little more critical and negative to give them.
Okay.
This is the thing though. Like I'm like this with friends. Like I love talking about what's wrong with us. I love talking about that. I think that's a great thing to talk about. Not everyone wants to actually face that though.
And you know what? I ultimately just want comics to be as good as they can be. Yeah. I want the shows to be as good as they can be. I want the scene to be as good as it can be.
That's where all of this is coming from.
It all comes from a place of love. Doesn't come from a place of hate. I say a lot, I hate this comic and I hate this comic. Hate's just a word. It's not a feeling to me. It's just a word of frustration. Even if your style of comedy when you're newer is not my style of comedy, I am able to go, that person is doing good. I can say, you know what? It's working. And it works for this. And I wouldn't have thought it wouldn't work, but I was wrong.
And then that, in a way, is a really good compliment. Mm-hmm. Because that says, you proved me wrong a bit.
Yeah.
You proved me wrong to the point where I had to say, yeah.
I have absolutely no problem being wrong. My problem is I want people to give me the opportunity to be wrong. You can't have an opinion anymore. You have an opinion about anything, and then all of a sudden people are like, you shouldn't say that. You shouldn't. It's like, prove me wrong. Just prove me wrong. And
I know.
If you prove me wrong, I'll tell you were right.